IVM.
Opening an account is such a headache, and in most cases, filling out long forms, slow responses from the bank, and the sheer amount of documents I need to put together. I am someone who likes things simplified, and that is why I am looking forward to using the Jupiter Money app. It's a digital banking app that simplifies banking. Take opening an account, for example. It's completely paperless, and in fact, your PAN card and Aadhaar card are the only things that you need. The whole process takes only 2-3 minutes, and it's super easy to understand. You can check out jupiter.money to know more, or download the Jupiter app on Android and iOS to get started. Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashdin, Doctor, your habit coach. And today with us, we're going to be discussing and understanding communication, because communication is such an important tool that we have at our disposal. And if we don't understand the correct way of using it or how we should be using it, and unfortunately, it's not really taught to us, is it? So with us, we have an expert on talking about communication. We have Kass Thomas. So Kass, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Thank you so much. I love that it's a habit. What habit can we have that actually will increase our communication, right?
And good communication is a habit, right? The more you practice it, the better you get at it.
Absolutely. And, if you're dedicated to communicating with yourself, right, then it becomes so much easier with other people as well.
That's so true. We have so many different levels of communication. We have others and we have ourselves. Kass, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? How did you get into this?
Well, it's a very good question. I was encouraged to write a book about communication by the founder of Access Consciousness, Gary Douglas, who said the way you communicate, Kass, is quite different than anyone else in the world. And, anything that we do with ease, that comes natural to us, we actually don't really acknowledge that it is something unique about us. We're like, well, we do that. Doesn't everyone, right? So I thought, okay, I've got a degree in communication. I went to University of New York, undergrad and graduate, and I, mass communication, broadcast journalism. So encouraged to write a book. I thought I would do surveys and research and all these things. And then I thought, what is the simplicity, right? The simplicity of communication for me that I can actually communicate with people. So I wrote a really, really small book with 7 easy steps to communication that you can use in any area of your life, with your body, with your health, with your family and friends, with people you don't know, and engaging with groups, and also engaging with the planet.
Wow. So, you spend so much time understanding communication, right? Like, what is the essence of communication? How would you define it? How would you explain communication to us?
Well, there's so much more that unites us than separates us. That's the tagline for these 7 steps. And to know how much, I don't know, I assume you have 2 beautiful eyes and a nose and a mouth and ears, and you have probably cells in your body and molecules in the cells and, water and blood, things flowing around in your body. There's so much that we have in common, right? And often what we consider that is different about us, we consider it a limitation or a fault. However, since there is so much that unites us, right, then separates us, what is that unique difference that you have that actually is your brand of magic, your unique brand of magic? In business, we call it your unique selling point. But if we're actually willing to notice what is the different approach we have to something very common, then we know how we can integrate with other people, engage with other people, and co-create, collaborate with other people to create something greater. So the simplicity of communication for me is knowing that it always starts with you. I talk about, when we're trying to gift people something, we're always trying to help other people, right? But if you have a glass of water that's half full, make sure you fill your glass of water up and allow it to overflow, so that what you are actually gifting other people, nurturing other people with, is not only fresh water, but it's also that you never actually exhaust and delete your supply. And so communication always starts with you. And it's not always easy for people to connect with themselves before connecting with others.
In fact, that was my question because, like you said, that each of us has a unique aspect, right? There is something unique about me, like you said, the USP. And that is what, if I get correctly, is what you're saying, that we start our communication from there. For example, for me, it's curiosity. So I use curiosity as a tool everywhere when I'm talking to people or interacting with people, because that is what floats my boat. That's what's unique to me. So how do people first identify that, oh, this is what's unique about me? How do people first introspect and understand this aspect of themselves? What is unique? What is my advantage here?
Yes, absolutely. Well, that's a great way to do it, to ask yourself that so that you can begin looking at different things that you do. So, something that you do that everyone else does, or so many people do, like podcasts, for example. Well, what you're doing, right? A lot of people do podcasts, but how do you do it with your team and engage with your team? Show people how to do the audio, how to do the listening, how to, do the lighting, how to, that's something unique. So curiosity, yes, is one of your unique talents. The way that you're curious, and of course, curiosity keeps you young and alive, but also how that curiosity allows you to be an invitation for others to contribute to something you do that a lot of people are doing, like the podcast. They don't feel intimidated, they actually feel engaged with. And what's unique and different about us, it's so easy to recognize that about other people, you know but the invitation that I am with communication is for people to begin engaging with themselves in a way that they begin to recognize, wow, I do something that everyone else does, wake up in the morning, but maybe I get out of bed with my left foot instead of my right foot. Or maybe before getting out of bed, I actually say good morning to the sun, or breathe, or whatever it is that you do that everyone else does, but that you do it in a uniquely different way. And so when we begin that sort of slow journey back to us, right, we feel comfortable in our own skin. So that when we begin detaching from ourselves, it becomes obvious when we have up walls and barriers, or when we are trying to hide behind a veil. Hello, my name is Kass. And yes, I do work with communication. Lovely to be here with you, when we're and so we have a quick route back to ourselves, you know what I mean? And once we begin to recognize when we're connected with what our vibration is, you know what I mean? What our energy is like, then we never feel out of place. We never feel wrong. We may not be communicating with someone in a way that works for them, but it's not that we're doing it wrong. It's just not working for them. So we don't go into lack of self-esteem. We don't go into, resistance or reaction or feeling weak. We actually are willing to do it in whatever way works for them if we're interested in communication. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's so interesting. When you were talking, I was thinking about so many people who write in saying that, I want to fit in, I want to be normal. And at one aspect, we're saying that we're turning this on the head and saying, but first identify what are the things that make you not so normal, right? Because that is what you should wear on your sleeve, and that is what you should actually be showcasing. Instead of trying to fit in, like you said, wearing a veil, making sure that you follow, that you're living up to everyone's expectations. How do you break away from
Absolutely.
that mentality?
Or the different ways, absolutely, the different ways of communication, the different aspects of communication, the different relationships with yourself, with your body, with other people, family and friends, with new people, with animals, with your plants, with the water, with the earth, with the universe, with God, Allah, Buddha, Shiva, the angels, whatever, so the different relationships. But if you're connected with you, right, if you are actually recognizing what your heartbeat feels like, what is the rhythm of your heartbeat, what is your vibration, then you actually activate that intuition in you to know what way to go. Do I go right? Do I go left? Do I, what do I choose? So that is the first step in communicating and connecting with you. But it's verbal. A lot of times we think that communication is just with words. Often it's the silence between the words, which is very funny. I was just talking in the United States with my cousin about that. But it's also visual. It's also the sound. I can say how much I really like this podcast. I really do like this podcast, and you seem really nice to me. But the sound of that is not actually something that is engaging and communicating. And just to know that communication, it's never just a one-way street. It's never just a one way that you are getting your point across to people. It's also about being willing to also hear, listen to, and receive what's going on with other people. So it's more than just a one-way street. It's a minimum of a two-way street. And the energy is the first language. So if you're feeling good, feeling at peace with you, that's something that even in silence is so much of a comfort for children, for animals, for anyone that you're passing by in the street that you don't know. And then, of course, it's when you do know people and you're talking to them. So there's energy, there's visual, there's words, right? And there is movement, the way you're moving. And when you're connected, all of that, when you're connected with you, and that's the first phase I invite people to, which is usually, strangely enough, the longest phase, connecting with us,
And hardest.
ourselves. Yeah, getting back to connecting with you. But once you do, life becomes so much more enjoyable and comfortable and full of ease. And even though you may go through moments of discomfort, if you're connected with you, you're always willing to get back to your comfort zone and expand it. Yeah.
We're going to take a quick break. See you on the other side.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Advertising is Dead, Piyush Gupta, president of Keystone, talks to Varun about how his experimental marketing agency is helping brands get on the metaverse. On Voices for Water, Karthik is joined by Dr. Anju Gaur, Senior Water Resource Management Specialist. Together, they navigate the landscape of Indian water data. On Pulyabazi, Pranay and Saurabh dig into why exactly the taxes on petrol are so high. On Ek Chuski Finance, Priyanka tells us how we can avoid taking a financial risk. And on Marathi Kirkitun, the Deshmukhs explore the beauty of the Devanagari font on the occasion of Akshaya Tritiya. Do follow us on social media. We're IVM Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And remember, if you're following this show or any of our other shows for that matter, please do tell a friend. Word of mouth is one of our biggest, most helpful things you can do for us. We'd really appreciate that. And also, don't forget to rate us on any of the platforms you're listening on. And you can also check us out on YouTube. Go check out ivmpodcast.com/YouTube. You get a list of all of our YouTube channels there. We're also doing a small listener survey to better understand how you respond to our shows and the advertising on the network. We would really appreciate it if you could spare a few minutes to fill it out. It's at ivmpodcast.com/survey. This really helps us build better shows for you. And finally, we'd like to thank our sponsors for this week, SBI Life Insurance, India Water Portal, and Jupiter, a digital banking app.
Welcome back. All right, let's jump into the conversation.
Are there any habits or actions or daily activities that people can take to improve this connection with themselves? Find that connection and then improve this connection. What can we do on a daily basis to improve this?
Absolutely. What I suggest to people is, with these 7 steps to flawless communication, the first one is connecting with you is the first phase. So when you wake up in the morning, a lot of people, as the British say, have to go and immediately wash their hands in the morning, right? But if you take 10 seconds, there's 1,440 seconds in each day, a 24-hour day. 10 seconds. Can you imagine 10 seconds connecting with you before you get out of bed? The moment you open your eyes, not just thinking about what you have to do that day, just breathing in, and you can't breathe. If you're still alive, you're not breathing in correctly. So whatever way that looks like, and just in maybe putting your hand on your heart and just counting to 10 and seeing if you can maybe ask a question. Good morning. What can this day be for me? I love this access question. Who am I today? And what grand and glorious adventures will I have? And just waiting a couple of seconds and then getting up and getting out of bed. The way you start your day influences how it will go the whole day. And I used to wake up and not even ask that question and then run back into the bed, take 10 seconds and ask that question. And the way it shows up is different. But it doesn't matter what you use. Some people do meditation in the morning. Some people do, exercises. I do that too in the morning. But connecting with you, connecting with your body, and then going through your day with that beginning is something that is so easy and so quick and allows you to have a very different engagement.
It's so true because you're setting your day up right in the beginning, in those 10 seconds. And like you said, who am I today? I love that question because you are different people every single day, right? It depends on the way you've woken up. It depends on the dreams that you've had. All of that comes in as a factor. So who am I today?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Instead
And,
of
they
what do I
say
have to do
21
today?
Exactly. Having your checklist. And there's every 21 days or something, the cells in your body are changing. So you could not be the same today as you were yesterday had you not lived yesterday, you know? And so it's a sneaky way actually to begin acknowledging some of the things that have gone on in your life and that are changing, and that you can have an approach to each day in a different way. And so connecting with yourself and activating your intuition. And that's what that connecting with the body is. We have lots of senses, the five, senses of, feeling, tasting, hearing, smelling, seeing, But that sixth sense, that intuition, that gut feeling, that, knowing that you have that is beyond your cognitive learning, is something that actually not only connects you with, your sensorial organisms that are in your body and your antennas that you have, but it also connects you with everything that is around you. So there's so much around you that you are aware of. Your intuition, you pick up on that. If somebody is feeling, cranky, or somebody is being resistant, if you're connected with you and your body and your intuition, you don't assume that what you are perceiving is about you. If you have a headache, or if you have a pain in your stomach, or if you have, a shoulder that hurts you, if you ask this question, is this my intuition about someone else or something else, or is this mine? Amazing. Who does this belong to? It's a great question from Access. Is this mine? And the moment you ask that, the millisecond after you ask that, see if it changes. It's so much fun. This question, who does this belong to? Is this mine? It allows you to go through the day without being overwhelmed by, thoughts, feelings, and emotions and pains. And B, it's you engaging in communication and conversation with yourself that is different than the communication that you'll have with anyone, And so once you begin engaging with yourself in conversation, in communication, your day, you never get bored. You can't get bored. And it's such a delightful way to begin engaging with other people from that perspective.
I love what you said about you don't get bored and you can't get bored. There is so much happening around us. And because we're not having these conversations, we're not aware that these things are taking place around us, or these thoughts that we are having. We're not aware of these thoughts that we're having. And questioning them, bringing them up into your consciousness, wakes you up and wakes these thoughts up as well. Do you have
Absolutely.
any
And you
more
hear,
favorite questions like this? I love those.
absolutely. That's what, when you are willing to acknowledge something, you will see and hear things that you would have never seen and heard before, even with that pain. And, if you have something that a couple of other questions, if you have something that shows up for you in your life, that is great and it's perfect and you love it, right? Or if you have something show up for you in your life that is not exactly what you would like to have, there's two access questions. One is, what else is possible? And what else is possible? And not looking for the answer, but looking for the response. And I love that we're speaking English. I speak a couple of languages, and sometimes answer and response are the same word in those languages. But answer is almost like a dead end road. There's your answer. No. Ah, okay. Response, though, is actually, let's say, multidimensional, if you will, And so if we're in the habit of looking for an answer, then we're always willing to get to the end of the road. If we are actually in the habit of asking a question that will give us various input, responses, energetic responses, maybe verbal responses, maybe visual responses, then what we are activating is different possibilities from which we can choose, something that is going to be a contribution to us, to our lives, to our communication with others, to our business, to our relationships. So what else is possible that maybe I have never even imagined, and just walk through your day and see how the universe is having things show up for you that you haven't really, that have always been there maybe, but that you haven't really seen. And another question is, how does it get any better than this? Doesn't matter if it's something good or something bad or something that works for you or that doesn't work for you that shows up. How does it get any better than this? Is being grateful for what has shown up and willing to invite other things to show up for you. Yeah, it's amazing.
In fact, Cass, when people talk about how they feel their life's in a rut, it's these questions that can help you get out of it. Because these are questions that help you examine your life completely differently in ways that you haven't before, and you start seeing things differently. So imagine if you have that same morning routine of going to work using the same road, and you ask yourself these questions, you'd suddenly look at that road differently. You'd look at the journey differently. You'd look at entering the office differently. And that itself means that your day is not the same as it was.
Absolutely. And that people and possibilities and situations actually have more access to you. You're absolutely right with that. Because if you go, oh gosh, I have to go to work again. Oh goodness, I have to ride on this bus. Oh goodness. Okay, so what else is possible here? Right? How does it get any better than this? You're looking up, not only physically with the vision sense, right? But you're looking up and looking out and asking questions and willing to receive some different information, And what shows up is, as if by magic, is what is here waiting for you, why we're here, to enjoy. So this world. So I would love to hear from people if they write to you and just use those questions. Anything good that shows up for you, anything that's not so great that shows up for you, what else is possible? How does it get any better than this? And see what shows up. Yeah.
Super. So this was the step one, right? Which is talking to yourself. What would step two be?
Step 1 and 2 are part of the connect with you phase. And this disconnect phase of the 7 steps, anyway, I was sharing some other tools, because whatever way you connect with you, if you want to do, use these access questions, if you want to do theta healing, if you want to do, whatever it is you do, however it is that it connects you to you is what works for you. And disconnecting from who you are not. So those walls and barriers that we have up that we may not even be aware of. I remember when I was receiving a session, this lovely guy, Dr. Dane here, is the co-creator of Access Consciousness. He was once giving a session to me during one of his classes, and I was there, and I wasn't feeling anything in my body. And I was like, what's going on? I'm like talking to my body, asking, what's going on? Why am I not feeling anything? And a lot of times we've experienced, not pleasant situations in our lives, and we put up these shields. Do you know what I mean by that? You know what I mean? We block people out. We block, you don't want to be bombarded. You know what I mean? It's like, don't overwhelm me. Don't, so we put up these shields and barriers, and we keep them up so often that we actually don't know how to bring them down. And it becomes the way we live our lives, the way we feel in our lives, in our bodies, so that lowering those barriers, bringing them down. Sometimes people say, oh, you're very resistant. It's like, okay, but how do I change it? So one of the things I invite people to do is actually to really have an awareness of what that energy around you, those not visible shields and barriers and walls that we have up, what that feels like, what that's made of. And each and every one of us has built those walls based on our experiences. Maybe chocolate ice cream, you don't like it because it's made you feel bad. So chocolate ice cream, and anybody who's eating lots of chocolate ice cream, you're just rejecting, or maybe doggies, maybe you were bitten by a dog, or, something happened. So when you hear a dog barking, even if it's not cognitive, you're actually pull up a barrier. It may be a different thing for everyone. Maybe, married men, if you're a woman, have been, or men have been, trying to get close to you, or you're not being kind to their wife. So you're not, you're got barriers up against married men, or small children, or whatever it is that's shown up in your life. It doesn't really matter. You don't have to identify each and everything. Once you've connected with you, and you are connected with your vibration, you acknowledge and recognize when you start disconnecting. And that's what happened with me. I was like, whoa, what's going on here? What is it that I have to do that will allow me to reconnect with me? And so one of those steps for the communication is how to lower your barriers, and just really show people how to bring their hands up above their head, and begin slowly, 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 slowly moving your hands down. And as you do that, inviting every area that you're passing in your body, in the front of you and in the back of you, to relax, And a lot of times, that's how we stay present, is we think we are being present when we're being rigid and being, with our guards up. But it's a very, very different way to be present when your guards are down and you're not being rigid. And so you begin to be connected with yourself in a very different way than many people are. And you begin realizing, when you encounter someone, that they might have walls and barriers up. And instead of judging them, instead of going into resistance or reaction to them, or trying to push down their walls or barriers, right? Just you being vulnerable and curious, like you said, and knowing that if you have a unique brand of magic, so does everyone else. There's something unique and different about each and every one of us. And that's the approach that you have, that I really adore, is that curiosity. People, when you encounter them without resistance and barriers up, and you're curious about what's unique about them, it is such a kindness, and it's such an invitation that maybe they haven't experienced before. And they begin sharing with you, whether it's verbally, energetically, right? Or, visually, something that maybe they've never shared with anyone else. And so that communication that you two have is unique because you're unique, they're unique. And so you're exchanging maybe in a common way, right? Through words, but the exchange is a two-way street and it's lovely. So barriers down and playing with that. It takes 10 seconds really. But once you've done it 3 or 4 times and you have noticed how to do that, even without, putting your hands up and bringing them down in public, then you begin really going beyond any mask or veil, which is step 4, go beyond the veil, and you're able to reconnect to you in a very different way. Yeah.
The walls that we put up are so subconscious. We haven't even realized that they're up there. And like you said, when we have a heart-to-heart and when you're just present with somebody else, you just invited them out of that fortress that they've built for themselves, right? And you said that, come out of your fortress, sit down, have tea with me. And this is our safe space. And if you can do that with people, that is the best form of communication that exists, right? Because now you're not communicating with your perceptions of the past. You're creating a new reality.
Absolutely. And if you are really willing to use some questions like, how does it get any better than this? What else is possible? You may be sitting with somebody with barriers up, but if you don't go into reaction to that and pull up your barriers, it may be that their barriers come down, that they get more relaxed. It may not be in that first meeting. It may be in a meeting afterwards. It may be that they send you a message later. But if you're willing really to enjoy your life and to engage in communication with people, to obtain really your level of flawless communication, then what changes in your world, in their world, and in the world in general is so much.
Beautiful. Love it. All right. So I hope you enjoyed that podcast. We're going to now discuss the other aspects of communication, which is the more external aspects of communication. So do join us for the second part of this podcast. Now, if you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcast on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am at Ashdin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. We have a brand new habit coaching online course, quizzes, videos, and a lot more on the website awesome180.com. So check it out now.
We know you love fast food,
Fast fashion,
faster payment.
lightning fast internet speed.
Then why not fast information?
On Think Fast, where we discuss the latest developments in the world of technology, business, marketing, pop culture.
With a side of sarcasm and my dad jokes, not just mine.
Not mine, Varun. My jokes are funny. So join me, guys, the funnier one, Suchita Salvan, co-founder of LBB.
And me, Varun Dugirala, the co-founder of The Glitch, as we think fast only on the IVM network.
Fresh episodes out every Wednesday.
On the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcast from.
Are you looking for finance products and services that can enhance your personal finance experience? Are you looking for a space to talk about your financial product or service? And are you looking for a crisp talk show where the conversation is all about money? Well, your search ends here. Hi, my name is Anupam Gupta and I'm host of the Paisa Vaisa podcast, and I invite you for the conversation about your personal finance on each Monday on the IVM Podcast app or the website or on any podcast streaming platforms. See you folks.